The film begins in a future dystopia, the city-state of Liberia, depicting scenes of destruction caused by a devastating Third World War that severely impacted human civilization in the early 21st century. In response, world leaders initiated investigations to establish a new peaceful society, recognizing the peril of a potential fourth global conflict. Eventually, they concluded that the root cause of destruction was human emotions and decided to control them. In Liberia, the ruling Tetragrammaton Council banned all drugs and materials capable of evoking emotions, even including basic necessities like art, music, and literature. Additionally, every resident was required to receive regular injections of a liquid medicine called prosium, obtained from distribution centers known as equilibrium, which effectively suppressed emotions, rendering people emotionless and cold-hearted. The story then introduces the secretive leader of the Tetragrammaton Council, known as the Father. Despite rarely communicating with anyone outside the council, the Father exerted his authority through ubiquitous big screens scattered throughout the city. Liberia's police state infrastructure enforced uniformity and conformity, aiming to provide all Liberians with a similar existence. At the apex of the Liberian law enforcement were the Grammaton clerics, skilled practitioners of the lethal martial art called gun kata, which enabled them to anticipate opponents' moves during firearm combat. The clerics were responsible for tracking down and eliminating EC-10 materials, emotional content, as well as apprehending and, if necessary, killing sense offenders or individuals guilty of experiencing emotions. The narrative then shifts to 2072, where Viviana Preston, the wife of high-ranking cleric John Preston, is executed as a sense offender, leaving John to raise their two children alone. Meanwhile, the police receive information about a group of resistance fighters hiding in a building with valuable EC-10 materials. John is called to lead the attack. Upon arrival, John enters a dark room armed with two guns, swiftly and unemotionally eliminating all the resistance fighters. The raid uncovers a genuine painting of the Mona Lisa hidden beneath the floor, which John surprisingly orders to be burned. Later, John discovers that his colleague, Errol Partridge, secretly kept a copy of Yeats's poetry. When confronted, Errol confesses his lack of trust and persuades John to assist him in taking his own life. In a quick and decisive action, John shoots Errol, ending his life. The following day, John accidentally breaks his prosium vial, leading him to skip a dose. Despite this, he continues working alongside his new partner, Cleric Brant. During their first mission of interrogating sense offender Mary O'Brien, John's emotional distress intensifies due to his missed prosium doses. He becomes increasingly drawn to Mary, preventing Brant from killing her. As John interrogates Mary at the police station, she resists divulging information about her associates. She scorns John's emotionless existence, comparing it to a ticking clock that merely passes time. Troubled by these newfound emotions, John hides his remaining prosium doses behind the bathroom mirror, refraining from taking them. During their next mission, John exhibits emotional behavior by sparing the life of a dog and insisting it receives medical attention. He attempts to maintain his emotionless facade in front of his children and a suspicious Brant, having ceased using prosium. As the movie progresses, John's actions increasingly mirror those of Errol, including stealing a book from the evidence department. Disturbed by the constant extermination of sense offenders, John visits Vice Chancellor DuPont and suggests interrogating them instead. DuPont asserts that they must obey the father's orders and avoid dissent. Subsequently, John releases Mary O'Brien and seeks out the resistance movement led by a man named Jurgen. He joins their cause, determined to bring down the oppressive regime and restore human emotions to society. John's actions attract the attention of his fellow clerics and the Tetragrammaton Council, who become increasingly suspicious of his behavior. As John delves deeper into the resistance, he discovers the true nature of the Tetragrammaton Council's control. They have been secretly hoarding forbidden artworks and literature, preserving them for their own enjoyment while suppressing the rest of society. John realizes that the council is not interested in maintaining peace but in retaining power and pleasure for themselves. With the resistance's help, John plans a coordinated attack on the prosium distribution center, aiming to disrupt the supply and expose the lies of the Tetragrammaton Council. The assault is successful, and chaos ensues as Librians begin to experience emotions for the first time in years. In a final confrontation, John faces off against Vice-Chancellor Dupont, who reveals himself as the true father and the mastermind behind the oppressive regime. Dupont tries to convince John to join him, promising power and control over emotions. However, John rejects the offer and engages in a fierce battle with Dupont. During the fight, John's exceptional combat skills and newfound emotions give him the upper hand. He ultimately defeats Dupont, bringing an end to the reign of the Tetragrammaton Council and the suppression of emotions in Libria. As the film concludes, the city begins to awaken to a world filled with emotions, both positive and negative. The true beauty of art, music, and literature is rediscovered, and individuals are free to experience the full range of human emotions. John, having played a pivotal role in the liberation, walks away from the city, leaving behind a hopeful future for himself and his children. Equilibrium is a thought-provoking science fiction film that explores the value of emotions and individuality in a controlled society. It raises questions about the price of suppressing human nature and the importance of embracing our emotions and passions.